and the step really is, there's actually it is a road safety audit, so there are procedures and steps that go to that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's common.
So I think your striping for roads is somewhat related, but it can stand on its own, because we've already talked about the 152, 156 corridor of trying to get narrower travel lanes and have a wider shoulder lane, or shoulder for
Yeah,
bicycles.
even if it's an additional foot, and certainly up 156, there's nothing there at all.
Right,
It's like
yeah.
inches.
A foot, an additional foot, shrinking it a foot will give you 1 foot of shoulder, because there's none now, paved.
But 156, it's a little bit on 152. It might just be a foot until it gets worn down into the gravel. It's not a good 12 inches, but.
Right.
Okay, and my second passion is, are all the Japanese knotweed clumps that have been spread around town. And when we talked about this before, someone had mentioned that there was a warrant article up for vote at town meeting that addressed funding for invasive species. But at town meeting, what was addressed was the milfoil in the lake.
Correct.
There was nothing about road invasive species. So I'm in correspondence with Doug Sykand a year or so ago. He said the town, by law, needs to take care of this. Either train somebody on your
Which I
roads
think is-
crew,
which I think is
or
what's
hire
happening.
somebody.
Yeah,
I think it's
the CIP, there's, in the budget, they have funding for the licensing.
Gotcha.
Right. It's just a matter of them taking action on.
But yeah, just getting someone licensed, you know, should put an action plan in. I mean, the select board should make an action plan for
Well,
that
they should get a-
department to go out there and evaluate whether there's knotweed out there, then apply whatever the license
It's,
tells them to do.
I don't sit still very well, and it bothers me when schedules aren't set up to take care of things so we can move on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Here I am, you know, a year and a half later. Okay. So if that goes into the letter, urge them to set up a timetable.
Yeah.
And or comment on the current status of
Yes,
if there are plans in place.
yes. That would be nice.
And I do wanna tie these back into our master plan.
Yep.
So, what does that knotweed, what would that fall under? Natural resource, protecting natural resource, I'm not sure.
I'm gonna look at in the transportation chapter, but just going through, I didn't see anything about. With a quick read, mostly about just the network and the volumes. No, there's nothing in the transportation chapter.
There is?
No, there's
No,
not.
Okay, I'm looking in the natural resources, but I'm not seeing that.
Are you at the back where they have
I'm at the objectives and action plan.
action plan stuff?
Yeah, I don't see it in there. It doesn't, it would just add some,
Certainly that
Some
would be
strength
something
to
that
it,
we can add with an update.
yeah. So maybe put that on the back of your head to have a,
Yeah, page 2-11. Down at the bottom, 4.1, action. Sponsor regular workshops and relevant topics, use the internet and local cable outlets to promote awareness. Such topics might include invasive species and their control. It has really nothing to do with,
Yeah, that's workshops.
Okay.
to promote awareness, but at least it's got a mention.
I-
Or updated state laws that might affect specific land and water use.
Which one was that one?
That's 4.1,
Oh, okay.
action. But it's mostly educational and outreach.
All right. So we have the striping of the roads. Notice of 152. 52, 156.
I think that's it.
Okay. So I will take more charge and get this letter drafted. And I'll send it to everybody in subcommittee and then we can,
Okay,
yeah. So what else do we want to take a look at the master plan as the transportation section action items? Or did we cover?
I actually did not, I mean, we reviewed the action plan last year, and I think we aligned our priorities against that. When I did my review and just highlighting the areas that needed updating, a lot of that was updated data, because they've done recent traffic surveys that isn't represented in the master plan. And then there were a couple sections that had specific reflections on what that data was telling us and what our next steps as a town should be, which I think would need to be refreshed based on some of that data. What I don't know is that the select board that then does that, or their cross committee or cross board committees that come together to try to update some of those things.
well, I think Stratford
Officially.
Regional Planning would have records of updated studies and plans.
But I mean, like formally updating the master plan. I'm not familiar with that process.
That would be our responsibility.
Okay.
So the planning board's responsibility is to update the master plan.
Okay.
Yeah. And the way,
We could job it out, as we did before. It would be cheaper than the last time. If we run into, time and,
you mean have it kind of guided and led for us with our input?
yeah.
What do you mean shop it out? You mean
When
like-
we did the master plan back in whenever, we had a planner do it. And then we had.
Yeah, Jack, right?
Jack, yeah, and we had meetings and we went through line by line. And, and he was the one that gathered all of the information and updated. After doing the format one year, changing the format, then he went through and did the pros, some of which was lifted from other, master plans that he did. I mean,
Yeah.
that was his shtick, so to speak. But I'm wondering if Stratford Regional Planning would have a chance to go through and then just see, have these studies been updated? I'm looking at on page 6-1. Stratford Regional Planning Commission prepares biennial regional transportation plans that guide for 20 years. The last one was done in 2010. So it would be redone in 2020, and there might be additional information to put in that paragraph.
Mhm.
And all of these little initials like TIP, do they still call it that?
Yep.
This is the highlighted version if you want to.
Huh?
That's the highlighted version if you want.
Oh, I went through and I.
Oh, you did the same,
I did
okay.
this, yeah.
Cool.
This is, right here, orange highlights, Joe Clough.
Oh, fair enough. Mine are yellow, but that's okay.
Yeah, I know.
So what you're saying is that maybe we should have somebody go through and just update this for
Well,
all
yeah,
of
maybe
the-
Gary, with, Kyle, or who's that fellow?
Colin?
Colin, and just go through and update, what we've got here. Where am I? What did it, just catch my eye? There are 17 projects, and Joe noted this, 17 projects within the Stratford region that are scheduled to move forward for the 4-year period, and that was in the past, ranging from major highway and bridge projects. None of these is within Nottingham. That might not be true anymore.
Right.
Right.
That was as of 2010, I think, is what that 4-year period was referring to, or 2011,
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah, 2011 through 2014, that's correct.
So they don't have the 4-year transportation improvement plan anymore. They have a 10-year plan, and then they have them ranked by priority. So it's structured a little differently.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's worth going through the most up-to-date one. In fact, the Senate's now, I think it's at the Senate level to approve the 10-year plan, the DOT's 10-year plan. And that would approve the funding for all of those projects that are in there.
So when does the 10-year plan expire?
Well,
Or is it-
it's updated every 2 years. So it's a
Okay.
10-year plan that's updated every 2.
Okay,
So regardless, there's likely changes or,
Yeah, and
Interpretation.
since then, the 10-year plan used to be like a 50-year plan. They'd throw every project in that they potentially would like. All communities would just say, okay, we want this, we want this. So they throw it all into this. It was, it was not attainable. So there was a crackdown by one of the newer DOT commissioners that came in and said, listen, we need to make this a realistic plan. And because the funding is limited and you have to have it in place. So now they are real projects. I mean, they have to be, have planning to them. They have to have something that says this is worthy of going forward. And that goes through the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. So all the planning commissions solicit for the towns those projects. And then those get put onto a list. And then that goes to the state. And then the state kind of, prioritizes those. But they do that every 2 years.
yeah, I remember ranking a list that came from DOT or Stratford Regional Planning. It was a while back, though. What project in town is most important to you? And then they had a list.
Right.
diverting traffic away from Ledge Farm. Fixing
Put up a gate?
125. I've driven that twice in the last month. I went the week after town meeting, and then I went last week during one of those really rainy days. And I think it's a miracle that road doesn't wash out completely at times.
You know what the bad thing is? Google sends you that way, quickest way to get to Nottingham.
I think we can give Google feedback
Yes.
on that.
Actually, we
That
can.
would-
Maybe we can put that on our,
That would be a good
I don't know if
idea.
that has to be a formal, like, from the town or
Probably.
citizens.
Yeah, from the town, from the select board.
It's definitely not faster. I don't know why people go that way.
Well, it's because it's more direct.
Yeah.
And people
And
put that
Google
into
doesn't know
their,
that it's a dirt road.
Right,
sometimes Google takes people on roads that don't exist anymore.
right.
Also, or over bridges that have been washed away, like in my hometown. But I know that because a couple times people have said to me, oh my God, how do you get here? You know?
Yeah.
And then came over this bumpy road on a hill and we found out it was Ledge Farm. That's a good idea though, feedback to Google.
Well, we probably, and then, so Google, I don't remember the name of the iOS, it's not Waze, Waymo, Waze?
It's ways.
Waze, W-A-Z.
Microsoft, all new Ford vehicles have their own proprietary
Navigation.
navigation.
Cool.
Draft one letter or something and then send it to,
Yeah.
or whatever the input is, but.
Well, yeah, and we should, you know, maybe there's other roads that we would,
Like Garland.
Add to it.
add to it that that sees a lot of through traffic.
Yeah, Garland's a big one.
I see that whenever, I know if I'm out walking the dog and all of a sudden 2 cars, 3 cars, 4 cars go by and I'm like, there's an accident on Route 4. Know it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, we can certainly put that on the list.
I can't think of any others that are picking up extra traffic. People do commute through Nottingham though, go from 125 to Route 4, and that's just a given.
Yeah, I mean, when I come up 125 to get to my house, it actually sends me down, like, North River Road off of 125 to come back up Berry Road to get to my house.
Ah, so you don't have highways, fastest and highways punched in to your program?
No, I don't.
That's why.
It's all,
That's more direct, but it's slower,
it's more.
unless traffic is backed up.
But by the time I'm there, I know. Dirk, take a left. No, I'm not gonna. That road's
Make a
dirt.
U-
and bumpy.
Make a U-turn if possible.
All right.
That's a good idea.
What else do we want to cover?
Didn't, Teresa had a takeaway, didn't she? I don't remember writing it down. I thought she said something that she was gonna take. Or maybe it was about the letter. I think that's what it was.
Okay, yeah, she offered to type it for me, but
I think she was being sarcastic.
I know she was trying to push me. That's fine.
Yeah.
Take it.
Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. It happens to me all day long. It doesn't matter.
What were some of the, we had,
We had scenic roads, obviously.
yeah.
There's a mistake on, page 6-8, the bridge inventory. And unfortunately, this source comes from DOT 2010, that table 6.5. And this is an edit that I had made before.
Yeah.
The first entry, Deerfield Road over Bean River, that is not the Bean River, it's the Elliott River, Elliott. Deerfield Road does not go over the Bean River at all.
There's a Bean River.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'm afraid I asked.
If I can find. The Bean River goes through Mulligan Forest. So
Okay.
it doesn't even, it might come close to Stevens Hill Road, but it goes through Mulligan Forest and goes southeast and is joined by the Elliott River, which drains Pawtuckaway Pond at this end of the lake. So when the Elliott goes under Deerfield Bridge, right there at the base of the hill, coming off Nottingham Square, that's the Elliott River. It joins with the Bean, and actually it joins with Mile Brook. So Mile Brook comes in, goes underneath Deerfield Road, merges with the Elliott, becomes the Elliott, that merges with the Bean, still stays the Bean, and then empties into the North River. Did you follow that?
Yes,
draw you-
I didn't, nope, I got it.
All right, because I can draw you a picture.
Is there anything that's come up recently, like the private road stuff, that we want to take on here on behalf of the larger board?
As the, in the transportation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do. I mean, we wanna potentially look at adding things into, the checklist for the applicant, and making sure that we get information when they're applying for development on, or lot development on a private road. But I think the overarching things that the town needs to be considering are more on the legal administrative things, or maintenance relevant with
Right.
private roads.
Right.
Maintenance, emergency access.
Well, how does
Snow
that,
plowing.
how does that come under our purview, the private road issue?
Only in that the abutters or the applicant who's making an application to subdivide or something would be made aware of those, of the private road, and that we would get either an easement or deeds that are recorded that provide rights to the homeowner for the right-of-way private road. There's a lot of times or not a lot, but I think in the past, what I've been told is that subdivisions have gotten approved that have access on a private road, and there's no language in there other than the original deed that says this land will have access. But in the actual recording or platting of the property, it should have a written easement with that set. A new one for every piece of property that provides those rights of entry and that language.
The only mention of private roads in this chapter is a bullet on page 6.3. These are privately maintained local roadways not classified by the state. There are 19.0 miles of private roads in Nottingham. This is a relatively high number compared to other regional communities, and I penciled in an edit, need a list.
And that needs to be updated because I think didn't we approve a private road to become a town road at town meeting? I don't remember the name of it now, but.
We did.
Yeah, Strawberry Lane. Is that it?
Oh, yeah, new subdivision road.
Yeah, subdivision road, yeah.
So maybe that wasn't even included in the mileage here, but.
Correct. These are ones
Yeah,
that have been,
what happens is that for subdivisions, those roads are private until either the subdivision completely is sold out with houses, or the first occupancy permit. I can't remember exactly the right language. The town needs to take over the roadway. So prior to it, it's a private road.
Gotcha.
That the owner or developer is maintaining until such time as there's an occupancy permit, which that is the trigger that there has to be now a town road, and it's just a paper switch over to
well, doesn't
public.
Rockingham blah blah have to inspect the road and make sure it's up to grade?
Yeah, so
So we
that's
can-
actually part of
For the bond?
what we do,
Yeah.
or what the planning board responsibility is to have an outside consultant, which we normally do, have come in, making sure that the road is inspected, the right
Up to
materials,
specs,
all of
yeah.
that. Yep.
So I would agree that we need to add more verbiage to the private road section here in the master plan. And maybe do an action plan. Make a list of ownership of said roadways, roads.
You want the owners' names in the master plan? Is that what you're saying?
No, I do.
To make sure we pursue that, or?
Pursue that,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna have to identify that. Although we could put in a map and have these roads located on a map.
Well, I think that part goes back to scenic roads, but also the GIS or however, or the road inventory.
That'd be good, yeah, that makes sense.
And I bet Chris has that now on his.
Yeah, all that data, yes.
Actually, maybe that would be a good thing. I was just pulling up Chris's presentation and thinking about some of the other roads that we might want to include in the, like, don't send people this way, but he might have some thoughts just based on the data that he's seen from the recent road studies. Like Cooper Hill, for example, I know part of that's in Barrington, but.
And it's all unpaved in Barrington.
Right.
Well, if Chris has all of that stuff, all that data, that could be sent over to Stratford Regional Planning Commission.
Yep.
And that could be incorporated into an update.
Yes. Yeah, so we can get the updated mileages. And, there's traffic counts now. At least on the gravel roads.
And there's another mistake too, that I just want to point out, so I'm not the only one who has it. It's a map 6-1, which is on page 610.
The bike one?
Bike routes, yes. You see coming from the upper left and going down to the lower right,
They
where it
flood-
says Nottingham Road,
And Flutter Street?
and then Flutter Street.
Yeah.
So Flutter Street belongs on that 1.2
Right.
section, and that's Deerfield Road. So the only thing that we could do was just add it in the caption down below. Just point out the error.
Because the map is the state map.
Right, and we couldn't we couldn't change it as a PDF.
Now, the other thing good to update is this local transportation projects and funding. So the table 6.6,
Right. This is right here.
it only goes to 2017, which by this table, this would all be done.
Right. That's all yellow. It's actually a good point. Everything up to Ledge Farm. Unless that 250 reference there was
The pavement that,
actually done.
I
I
think
don't know what
that's
it was.
more than, because all we did, the town did, was provide, I think, some base. And then the.
From the
developer-
square that,
The
like,
developer paid for
Developer
it.
paid for the pavement.
gotcha.
This is, I think, about the amount, what was the bond?
This was about the amount of the bond, but I'm not sure that was what this, I think they're apples and oranges for what we were just talking, what was presented to the town
Gotcha.
than what this number was. It may have been just budgeted.
But we should check to make sure that what we have here for projections, if we decide to start, say, in 2015 and then bump it out for another 10 years, make sure that the figures for 2015, 16, 17 are accurate.
We could, I mean, this says, this was from the 2010
Town report.
report. So if we grab this year's town report and refresh it.
So it looks,
Yeah. Did we want to include, we talked about the bicycle signage and safety on the state roads. Do we want to include that in this letter?
yeah, oh, yeah.
I think we
yeah.
did say that we wanted to do that.
Okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure.
Like state bicycle routes
Yep.
on,
Is that the same for the scenic road signs?
Yes. We put that in there. That,
you know, it'd be two separate items though.
yes,
And-
yeah.
And I like when Mike took a picture of the scenic road disc that you just put already up on the, perfect. Well, they put the Minuteman on there. I'm sure they have a template, business office.
I'm sure. Photoshop it on there and call it good.
That'd be a nice touch to have before the, was it the tricentennial?
Yeah. 2022.
I'd hope we'd have it done before that, but
All right, so I'll include that in the letter.
Were you interested in adding any share the road signs?
Yeah, I think that was part of the bicycle signage and safety, you know, share the road signs on the state routes.
Yeah.
I just saw an interesting one out in, I was coming back from Claremont, it might have been Sunapee. But it wasn't just the singular, this is the distance, there was some, I certainly didn't have enough time to read the whole sign, but there were like 4 layers of, maybe it was vehicle type or something, that showed different clearances that are required for bicycles. I don't know if you've seen those before.
Well, there's one that's 3 feet, it's the law, and then there's another one that's a share the road. Those are the 2 signs that are being used by New Hampshire right now.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
like share
But
the road.
maybe you saw it. Where was it, in Claremont?
It was somewhere, it was between Claremont and Sunapee, I think it might have been in Sunapee where I saw it, but it was a state road.
Was it?
Yep. Unless the town somehow put their own version out, but
No, probably not if it's a state road. Okay.
And, let me look in my notes for the letter, because we talked about it before.
And not to change the subject completely, but before I forget, so Gary and I are gonna be at the Hard Roads Conference on Friday, so if there's any topics that I already wrote down private road ownership ID, just as, there's gonna be attorneys there, ask them for some advice on that.
Yep.
Process, but if there's anything else that you guys wanna get answers for, let me know.
You know, it might be good to have, some comparison of other gravel road, what other towns are doing for gravel roads or maintenance costs. I'm not sold that it's cheaper to have paved roads than it is to have gravel roads.
Yeah.
Crystal Costa sent out an email that I think I forwarded to most everybody on the planet, that there's a fellow who is an expert in dirt road or non-asphalt road maintenance, and he'll come and speak to the community for free.
Right, wasn't he selling something though?
I don't know.
I remember that email or something I think you
Yeah, it was,
forwarded it
yeah.
along.
This?
Let me see.
Yeah. Looked more like a solicitation of services, but.
It definitely had a, ski for free, and then
Yeah.
you get a condo.
Come to the luau and you get a,
Yeah.
A free scotch.
But I'm in.
nothing too peaty though, right?
I like that.
Oh, you're going.
Yeah. My acid reflux doesn't like it, but I like it, so.
Just, we are live, just to let you know.
Oh, great.
No, we're not.
We are.
I had no idea. If anyone out there wants to buy me some scotch.
So, I'm sure he's not doing this out of the goodness of his heart. But it would be nice to get somebody in that could give us some. And I think I read.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's great information for us, but I think the action is on the town, Public Works Department or Highway Department, or whatever we're calling it, to be in on this. And to-
Oh, yeah, it
to
would be
have
for
this,
everybody, yeah.
And we still have the posting still out there, right, for the Public Works Director?
Not gonna get anybody.
Well, we had somebody and they left in a week.
Yeah, because I thought it was gonna be a desk job. But, I think my friend who lives in, Vermont, she lives outside of Woodstock, she gave me a statistic, she was on the Conservation Commission for a while. Something like 80% of Vermont's, community roads are dirt,
So
and they maintain them.
I did an analysis and a study for a Vermont community that had paved some roads, couldn't afford maintaining them, and they were in such bad shape that they wanted to go back to gravel.
Ah,
And so, I'd have to pull up that report I did
Yeah.
a few years ago, but, I mean, it was more, if a gravel road is built, constructed correctly,
well, yes.
the maintenance is fairly low, and it, over the long life cycle, is cheaper than pavement, because pavement, if you don't take care of it, after 10 years, it just goes,
Or you don't have a decent
Goes
enough
away.
bed in it to support the weight and the number of vehicles.
which happens on all of these projects that the town is doing. So the transportation project funding list has roads on there that, none of those roads were done, in my opinion, to a standard.
Yeah, well, when John, worked on roads, upgraded them, he built them so that they could support, logging trucks. And you can see that the roads that he did in town stand up much better than 152 and 156. But it could be because those two roads just get more traffic, it's hard to say.
Yeah, a lot of it is, you know, how much traffic goes on those.
Yeah.
But, and, you know, we also, the town, you know, we use material out of our own pit, which isn't always suitable for the application that they're putting it in. And it's great for maybe sanding roads, although I see chunks of rock now coming this big on our pavement, which is awful. But if we don't put down the right material, and you see during these heavy rains, you know, half of that material is going right into the wetlands that is adjacent in the ditches,
Yep,
and it's
yep.
choking up that.
Yep, Priest Road is a good example. Yep, Priest Road.
It is, I've seen I have some friends that live in Vermont on one of those, or right off of one of those roads, and it's miraculous. Like, you get some rippling, but the material obviously looks very different. It's almost like a whiter,
And it compacts well.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
different-
solid,
Different
It's-
material.
It's angular, so anything we get out of our pit is not processed. It's round,
Yeah.
basically. And we put a bunch of round things together, it
Just
doesn't
wash away.
stay.
Yeah.
But if you have processed material, then it's got a lot of angles that can bear on itself.
And my personal feeling is too, that I heard somebody on the select board, well, she was talking to me, that it's less maintenance and more cost effective to tar roads in town, rather than keep them as dirt. And if that's the case, then maybe to preserve the rural character in town, we should spend a little bit more money and keep that rural
See,
character.
I don't think there's any study that I've ever seen in my professional career that says that a paved road is less expensive than a gravel road. So, maybe she was citing something that, a study
Maybe
of some
just,
sort, but.
maybe just the town, because we use our own
There is a-
materials, and we just have to haul it every year.
and people can do things with numbers. If you're looking at the total welfare of the community, there could be scenarios where they factor in a number of miles driven to the financial impact on the operator, on their vehicle, because of the damage that a dirt road will do to the vehicle if they're perhaps tacking that onto the cost, but that's not cost for the town,
Yeah.
per se.
Right.
But
Or
I've seen
dust-
people do
dust.
that with numbers, just to say, this is more expensive, and then not put it in the context of total cost.
So,
So, where are we?
Do you have anything you want me to bring up at the Hard Roads Conference or workshop? Questions?
I know that you were gonna check in on, private roads and
Yep.
how other communities deal with it. I think you brought that up, or somebody brought that up, different colored signs for private roads.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was a really good idea. But yeah, I would ask about cost of maintaining a gravel road versus an asphalt.
Got it.
yeah. Okay, I think that's all I remember that we talked about.
How about culverts, culvert design,
Yep.
open pit culverts?
What about them?
They allow for, better flow of water, they don't get clogged up.
No,
Good
no,
for
it's-
wildlife. Our
You mean open bottom?
open bottom,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
DOT, not DOT.
That was from Kristen's letter, I think, right?
Yes.
Was that, yeah.
Um,
Actually, do we still have a copy of that? I'm wondering if there's other stuff in there that we should at least take under advisement as we talk about some of these things.
I don't have it here, I have it on my computer. Should I send it to you? Should I send it to you guys?
Yeah.
Sure. There were road-related things in there, if I remember correctly,
Oh,
not just the
yeah. Oh,
culverts,
yeah.
but.
Things about siltation and things like that, I'll do that.
There was something, I don't remember her name, but someone spoke at town meeting about,
Crystal, dark hair,
Yeah.
young,
yeah,
rather forceful. She works on New Hampshire Lakes and Streams Commission or something like that.
she mentioned something about, there's something that could be applied to the roads that would reduce, the dirt roads to reduce dust or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
Yes.
calcium chloride.
Yeah, it's a salt, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dusty roads there's two methods. Either you go out and put water on them, and then wait till it rains, and then it's just like it raining.
Yeah,
So towns have water trucks that can go out there and just, put water down. It's good for, a couple of days, even if it's dry.
yep,
Or you put some calcium chloride, which just kind of flocculates all of the particles together on the top surface, and that lasts, you know, like a month,
Oh, okay.
or more sometimes. And that just contains the dust.
So how does that impact on wetlands?
I don't know the impact.
Electrolytes and all that stuff?
I don't remember.
I don't think
Maybe
you
the-
said, but I think someone else on the commission mentioned that.
I think she referenced something about it being not that harmful.
Not as toxic.
Yeah.
Right, because it's used in the, construction industry a lot for, you know, when they're doing roads along highways, they'll put, you know, when there's just dirt, and there's a lot of dust going on, they'll spray calcium chloride on
Yeah.
the dirt.
Back in the day, they used to spray the roads with oil.
Yep. Yep.
If you could find that and send it to me
Oh, I can find it.
before Friday.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you and to Gary,
Okay.
and also to Dirk.
So takeaways, the letter.
Yeah, give me 2 weeks so we can have it at the next planning board meeting.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Well, will it be edited by then, by us?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, let me send that to
So
around.
you'll have a final to show.
Yeah, so prior to that, let me send around the letter. Yeah,
I think our next two, if I remember the schedule, the next two meeting dates are full with other stuff, so I don't know if we'd have a chance to meet as a group anyway.
I have Cole
For then.
down, and then Russ and ZBA and Evans are on the 23rd. Cole is that steep slopes one, isn't it?
yes.
Oh, by the way, I sent you guys an email today. There's an instrument. 4 of us went on a trails maintenance workshop over in Chichester on Saturday, and we got exposed to all sorts of tools, like special shovels and ads and cute little saws. I'm gonna have my husband buy me one. But one thing was a clinometer. Is that how you say it?
Inclinometer?
Yeah, it's called that, or clinometer, for determining slope. Oh my God. Because when you want to build a trail, you want to know if you can just go this way, or if you need to do switchbacks to minimize runoff and erosion. So we all got a chance to use it. It's called an inclinometer or a clinometer. And Forestry Suppliers carries it for $200. So if the planning board buys it, then the Trails Committee
Do we
can
have
borrow it.
anything that we'd have to assess that anyway,
Assess the slope? What do you mean?
I'm drawing a blank. The code enforcement officer, wouldn't they have something like that when they go review the
Well, I
property?
would think so, that Russ might have one. But the fact that we are revisiting the steep slopes ordinance, it would be nice that people on the board would have some feeling of what a 15% slope looks like.
I'm just wondering if we could borrow or
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know,
demonstration or something.
because I know that the Trails Committee would really be interested in getting one. But I just sent you out a link today. I sent Dirk a link and Joanne, so I didn't send it to you, Joe. Just asking
Just
the
gonna say I
people to
don't
forward it.
see it.
I have a digital one that's about this long, and you can check,
Yeah,
like handicap, ADA slopes for ramps and stuff, but you can lift it up and it'll tell you
the slope percent, yeah. I thought it was a pretty cool little instrument.
Okay, well, if we don't have anything else, I think that's back on me.
So do you want to schedule another meeting?
Sure, why don't we just put it in the book, and that way we can,
And it could be like the last Wednesday of May, on the 30th.
I thought we had something that day, but I don't.
so we have a meeting the 9th and the 23rd, 30th. put out a feeler for that day
Okay,
to Gary and Teresa and you guys and
Put Joanne on there.
Joanna, and we'll
a little question mark, okay? Before calendars get filled up.
I'm actually off that day and I'll be around. I have a chimney sweep coming and they're gonna show up at some point that day, so I decided to just take the day off, so I'll be
Well, that
here.
might be good to meet at 6:30, so if you're not coming in from Boston.
Oh, I don't do that trip anymore,
Oh,
thankfully.
you don't?
No,
Good.
just Exeter now.
Oh, good. A lot better.
Sorry, Dirk.
I do. All right.
Thank you.
Yep. I'll also, just, because I had just wrote them down, I'll just throw together quick minutes for Joanna.
Cool.